All right, everybody. Your saltwater guide and Bill Varney, surf fishing
Woo!
guru, dude. We're here. We're ready. Fish the surf with Bill and your saltwater guide, Captain Dave Hansen. We got a great podcast for you today. It's Okuma Wednesday. We'll be talking about some cool Okuma products. If you've been watching the live fishing show this morning, you know Justin's been out there fishing with Okuma products all morning long. It's been just fun to watch. He's got a limits of sheephead. He's had a few short white sea bass, some yellowfin croaker. And then on the side note, Bill and I and all of you been watching this most unbelievable fishing game commission meeting. And the reason why Bill and I asked you all to join us on that was so that you could see what goes on behind the scenes, these people that are making the big decisions. And Brent, you did an absolutely phenomenal job talking about the abalones, my friend. You did a great job. We were all very, very impressed. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for exposing and telling them they don't want to hear about anything good. No good news. No good news. But Bill, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Back in sixth grade at Our Lady of Fatima School in San Clemente, California, we were taught about the internment camps and what we did to the Japanese people, which is criminal at every level. It's the worst thing that's the United States of America has ever done. But do you think that we needed a history lesson this morning?
Well, first of all, they got to get their facts straight, okay? And I'm not going to pick on any particular person, all right? So let's just kind of start at the beginning. When there were slave owners, those slave owners were Democrats, okay? In 1827, the Congress, which was a Democrat Congress at that time, voted for, and it was signed in 1830 by Andrew Jackson, our $20 bill guy, who was a Democrat, the Indian Removal Act, where they had the right to get rid of the Native Americans in our country. Fast forward to the late 1800s, well, of course, the Civil War, where you had Abraham Lincoln, who was from the Whig Party and became the Republican Party, who wanted to get rid of slavery, but who didn't want to? The Democrats. Fast forward to the end of the 1800s, we had what was called eugenics. Eugenics was the sterilization of both blacks and Indians, Native Americans in the United States, by Democrats, okay? Fast forward to the 1930s. The Democrats and a Democrat president who had almost 3 terms, which is odd, isn't it? They instituted the removal of the Japanese Americans to internment camps. Who was that? The Democrats. So why we need a history lesson from these people who have no idea what they're talking about is just ridiculous. And if you'll give me a moment, I put together a list of some of my thoughts while I was watching the meeting from the very beginning this morning. My first thought that came to mind is, have you ever seen any more pale anglers and divers than these people that are on the commission? They're the most pale people I've ever seen. Look at you, Dave. You've got a suntan. Look at me. I've got a sunburn, actually, from being out fishing the past couple days. I didn't see any color on any of their skin, so I don't see how they have any experience down at the ocean. I believe Samantha Murray was late again for the meeting this morning. I don't know if you noticed that. Now, when I have employees, and I've had many employees over the years before I retired, if they came in late, I gave them a warning. If they came in late twice, like she has done now to the meetings, I fired them, with the exception of one employee who I gave her 3 chances before I fired her. So I don't see why they have the okay on such important issues with such little time to cover. They can come in late. Okay. I don't know if you noticed, Dave, but there was a last minute change to the phone instructions for people to listen to the meeting by phone. Okay. They didn't make the change a week ago, a month ago. They made it this morning and sent out an email only to the people who were signed up for their email service. Jedi, that's what they call the DEI. I mean, is that a waste of time or not, or what? They talk about how important it is to make fishing available to anglers of every color of skin, socioeconomic, religious, sexual orientation, all of those things, which is important. They've obviously never gone to a fishing show where the group of people is the most diverse person you've ever seen. And then after they talk about this Jedi and this DEI baloney, they go on to close down fishing to the people who are most affected by it under their DEI. It's just absolutely unbelievable. They come and they talk about threats, how people calling in or sending them notes or whatever are threatening the people on the board. I mean, who is threatening whom? Their existence, the board, is a threat to all 1 million licensed anglers in the state of California. So how are they saying that we're threatening them when they have threatened us for 100 years? It's absolutely ridiculous. And then they're going to come up, I guarantee you, they're going to start saying stuff like, because the budget has been cut or because the administration or because of this and that, we don't have enough money anymore for science. That's going to be their excuse. And then they're going to say, we're going to make this decision on white sea bass or decision on sand bass or grunion based on the information we have, which is a lack of information because we don't have money for science. Okay, that's their excuse, number one. And number two, they're the ones who wasted the money. They spent billions of dollars over the last 5 years on the homeless in California. If you figure out the numbers, for every homeless person, they were spending $42,000 a year in the state of California for each homeless person who's still living in a tent and addicted to drugs somewhere. Why wasn't that money being used on studies for the ocean? Now, how about their salmon proposal, Dave? Did you see that? They're going to give you 2 days out of 365 days to go salmon fishing. And if you don't hit your quota, everybody doesn't hit their recreational quota, they might give you 2 more days. And if you don't hit, they might give you 2 more. So they might give you 6 days in 2025 to go salmon fishing, but it looks like 2 days. And why is that? Why do we not have enough salmon in California? When my dad was a kid, he told me that they used to go to Aliso Creek, right in your backyard, Dave, and catch coho salmon right from the shore. When I was growing up, the number of salmon that were in the bay right off of Santa Barbara was unbelievable in Ventura, how many salmon were there. We used to catch salmon off of East Beach in Santa Barbara. Why are there not enough salmon? Because of management, which is their job that they failed at. Not enough water, right? Why is that? Their failure. Striper eating all the baby salmon. Whose fault is that? Their fault for introducing striper into the state of California. So once again, we might get all of 6 days this year if we're lucky for salmon fishing. Beavers, they're talking about introducing beavers, and these beavers that they put here. Let me tell you a beaver story now that you've asked. There's a town right over the mountain from me here called Leadville. 2 years ago, the beavers made such a big dam upriver from Leadville that they were afraid that if the dam broke, it would wash the entire town away. So they had to go up there and spend $1 million cutting apart all of these beaver dams and putting the river back into what its natural state would be. I love the police report when the not police get up there and talk about what they've done over the next year, they take such glee in busting people who are in MPAs. They don't talk at all about the guy who's down with a bucket, catching everything possible on the beach, and then going up to Westminster and selling it as soup in his restaurant. Don't talk about that. But they talk about their MPAs that are our closures and how somebody makes a mistake to go in there. They can't wait to throw the book at them, right? And then last but not least, and I'll get off my rant here, chronic wasting disease. That is an issue they have had here in Colorado for years in the elk and deer population. And they manage it very well. And they come out in the news and they explain it. And this is their explanation. The deer and the elk population are overpopulated because we don't have enough state of Colorado to keep the herds under control. So what happens is one or two of them get this wasting disease, brain wasting disease, and then they give it to all the rest of them in the whole herd of elk or deer, and then they have to kill every one of them to get rid of it. There's no vaccine for it. What's the solution? Management through hunting in the state. So what does the state of Colorado do? If they don't sell enough tags, and those tags don't take enough of these two animals, they go and they cull them themselves, or they pay private hunters to go and cull them. That's not what California does. They don't even know the reason for this chronic wasting disease. And here's the problem with chronic wasting disease. It's called zoonotic, which means that animals who have diseases can transfer those diseases to humans. And that's what the great fear is. So this is the management that they've done. This is what you've been watching this morning from all these pale people, is their lack of knowledge on management of just about anything that is under their purview.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense there, does it, Bill?
It doesn't make any sense at all. It's almost criminal what is done. And if you had a heart surgeon who had the knowledge of these people, you wouldn't even make it off the operating table.
And I don't know what's going on today, gang, but for some reason we're not going live. Everything is set. The same things are set that are set every day. We're not live on Facebook. I have no idea why. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. But for some reason, we're not live on Facebook right now. We were live on Facebook 5 minutes ago with Justin fishing. We clicked out of that, took a break for 5 minutes, and went back live. We're live on YouTube, but we're not live on Facebook. We're not live on I don't know why. But I want to address a couple of things real quick. Bill addressed some things that I observed during this meeting. First of all, I had my hand up the whole time, but I also used my name as your saltwater guide, okay? Because I just wanted to see what would happen. I didn't get picked to talk. I wasn't picked. They said my hand wasn't up. I put my hand up again for the next agenda, and you heard the lady, hands down, because they put it back down. They did that. And I don't know why, except that there's enough of us talking. Last meeting, enough of you mentioned your saltwater guide. I just wanted to see. I wanted to play a little game. So that's the first thing I observed. The next thing I observed was when they played that video about the Japanese internment camps. At the end of that, that young lady that was super late for the meeting, she said she wanted you all to understand that this is what is going on in America right now. So therefore, you understand what she was trying to tell you. We are taking these people that are raping and killing our citizens, and we're shipping them to El Salvador. And she wants you to know that that is exactly the same as these Japanese internment camps. So if that right away hurts my heart, because I have a lot of friends that's families who had to go to these internment camps, and to tell the world that those people that got put in these Japanese internment camps are the same people as the MS-13 gangsters were shipping to El Salvador absolutely hurts my heart deep down inside, that they are that racist and they are that uncaring of human beings and the sacrifice of life that went on during this horrible time in America. The Japanese internment camps were a horrible time, but these people that sat up there and compared that to the president of the United States shipping these gangsters back to the country they came from so they can rot in those horrible prisons instead of us, the taxpayers, paying for them to live in luxury compared to the places that they have to go to in their country. And like the president of El Salvador said yesterday, no, you cannot have this man back because he is a convicted felon in this country of El Salvador. He's not a Boy Scout. And to compare him to what happened in the Japanese internment camps, that was absolutely the most criminal. She should be in prison for that statement alone. Then not allowing me to hold my hand up and speak. It's just absolutely ludicrous. And then the final thing that I observed that I had to listen to and go through on this meeting was when they talked about how we need beavers. Well, gang, we don't live in Montana or Idaho, where there's very, very few people, and you can let them build a dam and wash these giant areas out with water. That we got rid of the bears, we got rid of the wolves, we got rid of the beavers because we actually live in California and we actually do agriculture in California and we actually raise livestock in California. So these animals cannot exist where we live. That's just the way it is. And like Bill and I talked about the wolf thing, and then I brought the greatest hunter of all times onto my podcast on Monday morning to address some of these things. He wanted to come on and he wanted to talk about the sea lions because he understands what's going on. But we also said we could talk about the wolves, and Bill and I have talked about the wolves. And then you had these people on this stage this morning talking about reintroducing the grizzly bear to California. Are you out of your flipping mind? More of a monster than a wolf is a grizzly bear. To have them wandering around in our neighborhood eating, they're not a black bear. That's a different animal, gang. Grizzly bears, like Jim Shockey was saying, grizzly bears kill for sport. They kill for fun, just like wolves kill for fun. They're out there. They're not killing for sustenance. They're killing for fun. And to reintroduce these animals and have these people that have never gone outside telling you, well, this is going to be the best thing because our state has a bear on the flag. I'm like,
Dave, these are the stupidest people. These have got to be the dumbest people on the planet. Reintroducing grizzly bears? First of all, why do you think there is no grizzly bears in the West? Colorado had grizzly bears, Nevada had grizzly bears, Utah, California. Because when California had like 4,000 residents, now it's got 60 million. They killed the grizzly bears because they were such a threat to humans. They stand 12 feet tall. I have hiked the John Muir Trail, the entire trail, 211 miles, twice. I cannot tell you what it would be like if I came around a corner in Evolution Valley and saw a grizzly bear coming at me. I cannot believe the stupidity of these people. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Well, believe me, Stu, they will help clean up the home. The food, like they talked about the wolves. The wolves, I don't know, they're like a dog on steroids, if you will. They were applauding the reproduction of the wolf. Well, you guys, if you ever had puppies, they have 6 to 8 every time they have a litter, and they're domesticated animals that have been fed massive amounts of chemicals. Out in the wild, a wolf will have 10 pups every time, and eight of those 10 will live. They have 6 of those 8 are 2 will pass and the rest will live, and they're applauding that and going, this is great. They're reproducing. No, it's terrifying. But the other note, like John Stanley and Jeff and Bill, they got a food supply like you can't even imagine. The homeless people are going to feed these animals so well. They're going to be so healthy. It's going to be terrifying to watch if you have members of your family that are homeless, but we're setting up for one hell of a disaster, ladies and gentlemen.
And I don't know, Dave, if you've seen over the years the stories of all the people in Alaska and Canada who've been killed by grizzly bears. And grizzly bears, and I know this is kind of gruesome to talk about, when a woman has her period, the odor that a woman gives off attracts grizzly bears. And there has been a number of women both shredded to pieces and eaten alive by grizzly bears because of that. I do not know what is going through these people's minds.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. But gang, today is Okuma Wednesday. You see the logo up in the top left corner. You see my shirt. Bill and I fish Okuma products exclusively. We're constantly using their products. And right now it's rockfish season, gang. It's full speed rockfish season. And the Kavala fits right into rockfish season. It's a 2-speed reel. It holds a phenomenal amount of braided line. You fill that thing up with 65-pound braid, you're going to hit the bottom with 3/4 of a spool left still, and that matters. Why does that matter? Because when it's time to wind it up, you want as much line left on the spool as you possibly can. I'm going to show you a short little video of the Kavala reel so you can see we're showing you the spool and the capacity when the line is out of the spool. And this reel, it fits into everything we're trying to accomplish when we're rockfish fishing. And then if you do get 2 big reds or 1 big ling, you can switch it into that low gear and slowly wind it up off the bottom, not going too fast to spin the line or break the line. So check out this little video real quick. And then we got a really cool code that we're going to throw up that you're going to get to save $20 on the Kavala reel. Check this out. So if you look, see, he's about to hit the bottom and he's still going to have 3/4 of a spool of line on there. And then that handle that he has is going to allow you to wind that line up very, very easily. That's braided line, that 65-pound braid. That's going to get you right down to the bottom, no problem. And then the crankability of this reel with that big power handle and then the low gear, you can click into the low gear. It's just a win-win. And gang, I want you to go over to the website. I'll throw the QR code up on the screen. Go over there, check out okumafishingusa.com if you're listening, driving around. If not, the QR code's right above Bill's or right below Bill's chin. That's all you need. But if you're driving around in your car, you're simply going to put in, I'm going to bring it up on the screen for those of you that don't know. You're going to use Kavala Dave 20, CAVALLADAVE and the number 20. And that's how you're going to save 20% on this reel. Now, when you get over there to the website, you want to get this reel, you can use the QR code or you can go to okumafishingusa.com. And when you're in there, you'll see the massive amount of rods and reels and products that they have for you. And Bill, you love that spinning reel. You have a handful of them there in your office all the time. That one we talked about last month, the one that you and Benji were talking about, fits perfect for that surf fishing. What was that reel called?
I'd have to go out to the garage to get it. I can't remember.
Put you on the spot.
Sorry, I can't remember.
No, it's okay.
And what's funny, Dave, is I just used it 3 days ago when I was fishing for the big ones, which with a picture I sent you there yesterday. So what a reel. And you know, when I got that, and you'll have to go out and look at it now, got to pay more attention. I couldn't believe how far the reel cast versus the previous reel, another manufacturer's reel, one of which I have. So fantastic equipment. Really love it.
No, their products are incredible. You guys watching Justin fishing today, all the products that he's fishing with, all the rods, all the reels, everything he's fishing with, that's all Okuma products, from the Komodo reels, the Cortez 5s, and the spinning reels that he was using, everything with the bait feeders on them, everything is Okuma. We're trying to make sure that you guys understand how well these rods and reels work, and there's no better way than to watch them live on the show. And Okuma stands behind their products. They're based out of Ontario, California. Those of you that live in California, that's a great deal because you can swing out there to the warehouse, drop your reels off if you need repairs, or swing in there and pick up your product if you don't want it shipped to you. Just a great company all the way around, and I've been a part of them for a very long time. So check out AkumaFishingUSA.com or use the QR code, and I'll throw up the one with the $20 off discount here one last time. And then we're going to go fishing. Bill and I got a lot to talk about fishing. We are glad you guys joined that meeting this morning. And the real reason why we want you to see that meeting and see what's going on is so you can see what a giant slant it is. And it's got nothing to do with fish. And we didn't see the outdoors or the animals. It's got to do with their agenda. And Brent, he left. He drove all the way there, Bill, to say that what he said about the abalone, and he couldn't stomach it anymore, and he left. He had to go home. He was gonna hurt himself. He wasn't gonna hurt anybody else. He was gonna hurt himself if he had to sit there through any more of that rhetoric.
Now he knows how I feel. I'm telling, my blood, Dave, just boils, and I feel like I'm going to come out of my skin sometimes. It's so hard to watch. But Joshua made a comment on here about the biggest grizzly bear and all that. Does anybody out there raise your hand if you've heard of the name Jedediah Smith? Well, Jedediah Smith in the 1800s was a fur trader, and one of his favorite zones was up in the California-Oregon border. As a matter of fact, there's the Jedediah Smith Wilderness, and through that wilderness goes the Smith River, one of the most famous rivers in all of California. I fished there numerous times for really for salmon, of course, but really big steelhead in that river. Jedediah Smith was about 6.5 feet tall, and he was attacked in the wilderness there by a grizzly bear. He's one of the only humans known to have killed a grizzly bear with his bare hands. But when he did that, he got a scar from the paw of the grizzly off half of his face, and he went through history known by the way that he looked. He was one of the most scary looking guys that was to come out with pelts out of the forest ever. And he was one of the few that actually lived and was able to kill the grizzly bear. So I think maybe we should put some little historical analysis and pictures together for the commission and send them over to them so they can get a good idea of what it looks like when a grizzly bear attacks a man who's close to 7 feet tall.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So back to what we were talking about, Bill. We're into the sand crab. We gotta talk about fishing because we're gonna we're gonna be way deep into this political world tomorrow again, gang. The meeting goes on again tomorrow. It's gonna go on when we get out of this podcast today. But there is some cool things going on in the fishing world, right? I'm gonna throw a couple pictures up in a second here, but go ahead and tell everybody how cool it is.
Yeah, work on that, Dave. Well, it's really, surf fishing really for the past few months in the winter, which is normally a bit slower, really picked up, and it's been really good. And here's the reason why. So we go back a couple of weeks ago and we looked at the water temperatures right around 60 degrees in Orange County, San Diego, cooler up in Santa Barbara. Then we had that big wind event, a little bit of rain associated with that. It knocked down the temperatures. I know down at Dana, it was maybe down around 54 degrees and so forth down there. Well, the water temperature today is 62 degrees on its way to 63 degrees. And the reason for that is that these northwestern swells and these storms we have out of Alaska, we didn't really have as many that this time or this year. And then this time of year is when they peter out, is when the storms slow down up there in the Antarctic, excuse me, up in Alaska. And then we normally see some action out of Mexico. What has happened unusually this year is we've had a tremendous amount of cyclonic activity in the South Pacific off of places like Chile, Antarctica, New Zealand, Australia. So that has sent these south swells up. That's what's warmed this water temperature up. There is in the window right now 5 groups of swells that are going to be coming out of the South Pacific. One in about 10 days that looks like it's going to be one of the biggest south swells we've had in the last year. And that's originating from a storm off of New Zealand that has 40 to 50 foot seas, which that's going to send swells 5 to 6,000 miles all the way up here to Southern California. Well, think about it. What happens when you have all those swells coming north from such a long distance? It's pushing all that warm, clear water right into the Southern California bight. I really know that the surf fishing is good and is going to take off, but offshore fishing in the next 2 weeks is really going to turn on as that warmer water makes it into the bight up here.
Yeah, and we already see the swell down here. It's already showing up. Kelly and I went to the beach yesterday, Bill, and most of the waves were like taking out most of the sand throughout the day, which we hadn't seen down here in a very, very long time. It was kind of like, wow, what's going on? And then I went and looked, and I was like, I'll be go to heck. Here's the first big south swell of the year, gang. Here we go. Everything's about to change. And then I don't know if you guys saw what the San Diego did, and a couple of the sport boats in the sport boat San Diego and a couple of the other sport boats catching big bonita, yellowtail under the kelp patties, less than 100 miles from Point Loma, some as close as 20 miles. Everything's changing very, very rapidly right now. So yeah, Darren, it's absolutely the time to go fishing. That's for sure. And I would definitely try to get out there this weekend. And as far as Jason Cutter and the rest of our surf fishing guys, you guys need to understand everything is changing, right, Bill?
Oh, everything's changing. This is the time of year where, and one of the biggest changes is what you just brought up, Dave, is that the the sand, which gets somewhat depleted from the northwesterly swells, now will be replaced on many of the beaches, and particularly the south-facing beaches and the slightly south-facing, like Malibu, all of Orange County, a lot of San Diego. There's going to be a redeposit of sand along there, which will bring the sand crabs up to the surface and allow the fish to feed in much shallower water. So surf fishing wise, there's a big challenge. And then offshore, with all of this warm water coming this way, warm, clear water, we're going to have nothing but great fishing. And I think really it's in the next couple of weeks, it should really start breaking loose.
I believe that wholeheartedly. It's the table's set, gang. Everything is changing rapidly. There's no reason to not go fishing. And as we move along, limit to big bonita, kelp patty, yellowtail. Justin had full speed before we went live this morning. Full speed barracuda fishing, all 27 to 35-inch fish at Catalina. That's a new fish. That's something new. It's just absolutely incredible what's going on out on the water. Sea bass biting at the Channel Islands. Really good rockfish fishing. Sprinkling of yellowtail at the islands. Just, we're in a cold water year. So people don't think that because the water's cold, nothing's going to bite. Bill will tell you, I've been telling you for months. The fish that live in Southern California love cool water. They do. And I don't know, a lot of you haven't experienced it because you haven't seen the cooler water, but they absolutely love cooler water in Southern California. They love the anchovy, and you're going to get to see a fish a fishing season that we haven't seen for a very long time. And it's going to start right with the surf fishing. And I'm trying to get the pictures up and talking to Elliot at the same time. We have a problem, Bill, over at Facebook. We're not being shown on Facebook for some reason. I don't know why, but I can't fix any of that now. We're full speed into the show, and tomorrow it'll be better. It is what it is, gang. And thank God we got a giant audience over on YouTube, because we got a lot of people watching. But what is this little
So
guy?
that's one of the probably, gosh, what have I seen? I mean, I have lost count. I think that I've seen about 7 to 10 stripers that are 30 plus inches just this week caught. And I made a little list of where they were caught. 2 in San Diego, 1 in Oceanside, 1 in San Onofre, a couple in the South Bay by Dockweiler, several in Ventura. So this is what we talked about before. The lack of rain this year meant that there was a real slowdown in the striper fishing in the Southern California Bight, primarily because the fish were going to other areas, mostly in Central California, to feed. And now they're spreading along the whole coast, because remember, these stripers, they're not just a sardine or an anchovy fish. These fish, they eat sidewinder crabs right off the rocks. They will come in right against a jetty and, like a vacuum cleaner, use their mouth between the rocks to take the sidewinder crabs right off those rocks. They'll eat squid. They'll eat sand crabs. They're caught on just about everything. So now they've spread along the California coast because the summer's coming. This water is warmed up, which has brought up those sand crabs. Look for these stripers all along the coast, and for striper fishing to get better as the summer goes on.
Yeah, and a lot of us want to catch a striper. A lot of us have never caught one in Southern California. So that's a big deal, gang. And that's a beautiful fish right there. That would be a great table fare, perfect size, not too big, not too little. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool to throw the bigger ones back. They're the ones making all the babies. But I know that goes against what everybody else out here stands for. But I'm so confused. What's the legal size on that you can take home a striped bass?
Well, I don't know if in the ocean, I would really have to look that up, if there is a legal size in the ocean. They're trying to make it a slot limit and saying that between 20 and 30 inches you can take it home. But the problem is that over the last decade, each season, these fish have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger off of the coast here. And so many of the fish we now see are over the 30 inches. It's very unusual to see these fish in the ocean caught under 30 inches in the past, year or 2 years now. They're an excellent table fare fish, number one. And number two, don't let them trick you. They have a huge biomass, because they are in both fresh water and in salt water. If you took the biomass alone, Dave, that is in Lake Mead, just one of the many inland lakes that have them lake locked or landlocked, the biomass is greater than you would find in all calico bass along a 10-mile stretch in California. So there's no question that they have a huge biomass. By keeping the fish, you're not hurting the biomass at all. You're not reducing the number that are being born. They are a prolific fish. And now we're seeing them, as I said, in Southern California. I have a buddy up in San Luis Obispo who 4 months into this year had already caught 62 of them, and about 40 of them were over 30 inches. So there's lots and lots and lots of them.
Yeah, and we're going to go back to the meeting. You know what's really cool, Bill? Those 5 people sitting up there behind those tables, they don't know.
No, they have no idea
that they're here.
They have absolutely no idea.
So that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool, because as soon as they find out they're here, oh, baby, they're coming. They're going to take those away. But right now, they don't know they're here. These are the experts. They don't even know this fish is here. So thank goodness for that. You better get out there and catch some before they find out, boy, because then we're all in trouble. Once they find out, we're never going to get to catch those again. But right now, they don't know they're here, because, they so know about everything, and they know all about the sand bass. I have a little article that they wrote, the Fish and Game wrote back to everybody about me. I don't even know. Look on here, Bill. It says, if I don't know if you guys can read that or not, but I talked about it in the meeting in February, how the sand bass is a highly migratory fish, and I don't know how you guys can regulate a highly migratory fish. And then the experts at the Fish and Wildlife Commission on the right-hand side said they know for a fact that it's not a highly migratory fish. So there you go.
I
They
saw
know.
that and in one of the people who wants the closure of the sand bass said through scientific studies it's a non-migratory fish. Okay, first of all, a good buddy of mine who works for the DFW is just now beginning studies by diving studies on sand bass in Southern California. Second of all, there is no way that they know if they're migratory across the border, because when you get down to the border, as Jason brought up perfectly in the meeting today, the millions and now billions of gallons of raw sewage that go into the ocean between Coronado and Tijuana, I guarantee you that when the fish go south, they're going around that. They don't go in the areas that they've had a few divers look for migratory fish. These people have no idea what they're talking about. They have never tagged them, and they have never dove around places like Natividad Island and Turtle Bay, where there's literally billions of them.
Right. And it's a different fish. There's the sand bass that live in Southern California are different than the sand bass that migrate up from Mexico. We call the ones that migrate white bellies. They have a totally different coloration. They don't look the same. The ones that live in Southern California live in that tidal zone from 25 feet of water out to about 65, 75 feet of water. And then there's nothing. And then you have the migratory fish that show up in the 90 to 120 feet of water zones, and they don't go into the shallows because that's not where they're going. We know this for a fact. We know this. It's been documented a bazillion times, but they don't want to know about the science. Something I want to talk about, Bill, off subject, but we need to talk about it. Dana Wharf Sport Fishing is getting inundated with telephone calls and da-da-da-da because a couple of whales have washed up on the beach. And whales, I'm going to blow your minds right now. Whales are animals. All animals die. We're going to die. My monkey's going to die. My cat is going to die. And whales die. Not all whales get to live forever. When a whale dies, it sucks. I know that. But it happens, gang. It wasn't caused by my sister. It wasn't caused by the whale watch boat. It wasn't caused by Bill casting his lure off the beach. It wasn't caused by overfishing. It wasn't caused by some hybolic acid or whatever they want to call this red tide garbage stuff that we know is man-made. It's caused by the sewage that we pour into the ocean every day, or heaven forbid we talk about that fire that they don't even talk about it anymore,
Nope.
Bill. They don't even talk about the
Nope.
Malibu fire. You couldn't find an article or a news thing talking about the urban runoff in Malibu that happens every day when someone turns on their sprinklers, or every day when someone waters their front yard. All that stuff's washing in, but we're not going to talk about that. These whales are dying because man's killing them. No, they're not. They're dying because not all animal. I know this is going to blow your minds, ladies and gentlemen. Not everything lives forever. So relax. It's not the end of the world. It's not the second coming of Christ. It's nature. A couple of whales washed up on the beach. A couple of whales are offshore. A guy wrote an article. Oh, it blew my mind, Bill, and I had to get involved. I had to make a comment on the Lion LA Times. A guy wrote an article saying that we've lost over 15,000 whales in the last 6 years, and there's dead whales floating everywhere. And I was like, wow. My family and all of my friends spend their whole lives on the ocean, and we're not seeing them because it's not real. It's a lie. We didn't lose half or 15,000 whales. We didn't. But this guy wrote an article, and a bunch of people leaning to the left got all involved, and now my poor family's getting phone calls and all this stuff. That minke whale that died inside the harbor, you guys can blame yourselves for that. Driving around in your little Zodiacs and your little skiffs trying to herd him out because he said he was lost. That animal came in there because he's curious. He wanted to check it out. You guys blew it because all whales use their hearing like you can't even comprehend. So when you all drove around like a bunch of crazy people trying to herd him out because you thought he was lost, he's not lost. They know what they're doing. He swam in there because it looked cool. He wanted to check it out, you dummies. Oh my gosh. When he came in there and I saw that first news report, I told Kelly, I said, these people that think they're saving him, they're going to kill him. And lo and behold, they killed him. They did it. They did exactly what they thought they wouldn't do. Whales know what the heck. They're way smarter than we are. He wanted to check out the harbor. He came in there to check it out. Little did he know you guys were going to do that to him. And you did it to him, folks, ladies and gentlemen. You did it to him. And he didn't know. He was so confused by all that noise of your little outboard motors just buzzing his out. You were herding him out of there. So ridiculous. Leave them alone. They come and they go. They come in there and look around at night when you guys aren't there, and they do just fine, and then they leave. But it's you guys that are trying to save them that are causing all these problems. I had to go off topic for a minute. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Just like the sea lion.
Now you got me thinking about my
Bill?
whale stories. I'll give you a couple quick whale stories. One was
okay, but the sea lions that are attacking people, they're blaming that on red tide too.
Exactly. When I was a lifeguard up in Santa Barbara for 8 years, my boss got us all together, the head lifeguard, and he said, okay, if you guys come into work in the morning, you guys and gals who come into work in the morning before I get here, and there's a whale on the beach, you need to call me immediately. And we said, well, why is that? And he said, because I need to call the city works department to get a backhoe down on the beach as soon as possible to dig a giant hole to put the whale in. Because if we don't do that before we know it, there'll be crazies all over. And that was 40 years ago, man. So a few years ago, me and my buddy on his 44-foot Pacifica went for the 5th time from Long Beach to La Paz and fished not only in the ocean, but along every beach along the way. Well, Dave, we're on our way to Mag Bay. We're right outside of Mag Bay, probably about 5-6 miles outside of Mag Bay, getting ready to go inside there, get anchored in a really calm area in Man o' War Cove there and have a delicious meal with, my gosh, a piece of wahoo and filet mignon. Well, we couldn't get into the Mag Bay. We were stopped maybe 5-6 miles off of Mag Bay. And why were we stopped? Because whales were swimming in front of us on the way to the bay. So we decided, well, we're just going to turn the engines off on the boat and we'll just float till the whales go by. And the whales, I'd say they were about 10 to 15 feet apart. We sat there for an hour and 40 minutes waiting for the whales to pass in front of us. There must have been over 100 whales. It was unbelievable. And when I was a kid, save the whales. We all did what we could to save the whales. We never harassed them and all that. And they came back and they're there by the hundreds, if not thousands. So when these people come up and they say, oh, there's been 1,600 whales that have been killed. Well, I don't know about that, but we know there's been 130 killed on the East Coast by you guys driving pylons into the bottom and doing sonar.
Yeah, we do. And the sound of those windmills wind turbines, are not windmills. That's a fancy word to make it sound good. They're killing them full speed. But when 2 or 3 whales wash up on the beach in California, it's the end of the world. It's just absolutely crazy. But the people that are saying that are the same people that are voting to put these wind turbines in the ocean in California, which the guy that's running the country now, he's kind of, I don't know, Bill, he's kind of being wishy-washy about these wind turbines. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of, we're looking and we're going, well, wait a minute. You said you were going to ban them. So, and then you're not banning them. So how big is the money grab? How much money are they? I don't know. It's kind of weird. And a lot of us are very disappointed in that decision there. So we'll see how that plays out and how it goes. But you need to understand, I brought Jim Shockey on the show the other morning, which was unbelievable. The guy's got 30 million followers. He's one of the big time, all time outdoorsman adventure. And I didn't even know a lot of our members have been following him forever. Justin Botrell was blown away that Jim Shockey was on our show, gang. It's a big deal that Jim came on the show. We didn't get the following. We didn't get the views I thought we would get, but we'll re-show that again, maybe in the afternoon or in the evening, because he could only be on the show live at 9:30 in the morning. So we're going to take advantage of that. But Jim wanted to talk a little bit about the sea lions, and he wanted to talk a little bit about reintroduction of wolves. And he said, what he said about bringing those things to your backyard, Bill, and dropping them off there, he just said, they have no idea, because those wolves, Jim's from Canada. The timber wolf is an animal that is absolutely unbelievable. They hunt for fun.
Yep.
They hunt in groups and they hunt for fun. And he's watched them wipe out giant herds of caribou, and they corral them and they get them in the middle and they wipe them out. And then they just leave. They don't even eat it. They're like, well, that was fun. That was cool. It's like playing baseball or golf for us. That was fun. Woohoo. All right, let's go do some more fun stuff and cruise around. Those guys are hunting in your backyard right now, Bill. They're hunting in Aspen. Like he said, I don't even know where that makes sense to reintroduce them to Aspen, Colorado. What are you talking about? That doesn't make sense at any level of anything. And we got to listen to that crap today. And now we know why these people are just out of their ever-loving minds, gang. And they're going to eat your kids. They're going to eat your kids. They're going to keep the streets of Aspen cleaner than hell, though. They're going to be lickety clean. They're going to be so clean. They are going to be clean. You're not going to see many people wandering around. You showed me that map a couple weeks ago, and I was like, Bill, they're hunting your neighborhood, dude. They have surrounded Bill's neighborhood.
Exactly. And
monsters,
another one of the wolves that they introduced 3 or 4 days ago was found dead, and it's under investigation. I'm telling you, the ranchers and farmers out here, they are not putting up with this one single bit. And if those wolves come into their zone where their cattle are, it's over for them. Because although they some of them have collars and they can be tracked, when they have their babies, which they've already had, which are untrackable, the farmers are just shooting them and burying them right there. So I mean, this is so foolish what is going on. And you heard Bonham, the head of the Department of Fish and Wildlife, say that, wow, this problem with them getting into cattle is really a big problem. You know why it's a big problem, Dave? Because they can kill $500,000 worth of cattle on your farm in one night. One night, you lost $500,000. How is that fair? I have no. I mean, there is a reason there are no grizzly bears or wolves in these states.
But you also heard what Bonham said. He said, that's okay. We're more than willing to give these farmers money.
Yeah. Like it's his money, right?
You're more than willing to give them money. Where are you getting this money from? Gang, that's another thing people don't understand. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's not their money. That's our tax money, gang. It's absolutely, there's like when you hear that AOC gal talk about the government will pay for it. Gang, that's our money. Well, you guys just got done, and some of you got done doing your taxes, and you're madder than hell right now. And I'm with you. I'm with you. And they're like, that guy sat there today. I was just like, what the? He goes, don't worry, farmers. We'll reimburse you. And I'm like, you won't reimburse shit there, dude. You're going to take the money out that I paid in taxes and give it to these farmers for these cows. That's not the problem. Giving them some money 4 or 5 years from now when they win the settlement, because they're not just going to hand them the money. They're going to have to sue for it. And then they're going to be broke, but the money they're going to hand them is our money. Gang, none of this should happen. It's just ridiculous. And another thing that's got me pissed that I was watching the other day on a Congress was having a meeting, and they were trying to figure out how did that young lady get to run for president. No one's talking about it. The only reason that young lady ran for president is because they had already gathered all the money from all the people that donated, and they couldn't transfer that money to anyone else except the vice president. That's why she ran, gang. They don't want to talk about it, but I'll just tell you the honest to God truth. Why did we have her as a candidate? Because of money. Nothing else. She wasn't the best candidate. We knew that. We all knew that. But they couldn't figure out what are we going to do with these billions of dollars we raised for Sleepy? We can't give it to another. Only person that qualifies to get that cashola is that young lady. Yep. I don't want to say any of these people's names because we'll get banned, but that's why. But they don't even talk. The side that we voted for, Bill, they don't talk about it either. This is just the most corrupt bullshit crap you've ever seen in your life. No one talks about any truth or reality. It's like, why did she get the because they couldn't move the money any other way. That was the only way.
That's exactly right. So, that's exactly right. The money was raised in a trust fund for the president at the time for him to use for his campaign. And only under certain circumstances could that money be given to somebody other than him or the vice presidential candidate who is already the vice president. So you're exactly right. They talked about that a little bit way back when he stepped down, but that's exactly what happened. That money was only allocated to him.
Covered all that. Gang, I promised you we'd go back when they went back into session. Bill and I don't want to miss a thing because this all matters to us. It might not matter to a lot of you. This is our life. This is our world. This is fishing and hunting and being outside. They're back in session. I put the QR code back up on the screen. We're going to go back over and watch what's going on. Bill and I don't want to miss a thing. I want to thank you all for joining us today. You got to get out there and go fishing. You got to get over there and jump on Bill's bundles and check out surf fishing and all the great things that Bill has to offer. I'll put Bill's QR code up there for 1 second, but we're going back over to this live meeting that matters more than anything. And gang, I'll behoove you. It's going to start tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the morning. Sand bass, first thing on the agenda. Wake up early, get your coffee, get ready, write down what you want to say. We got to be on this meeting. I want to see hundreds and hundreds of you. We all need to be there. If we only have a minute to talk, just say thank you for letting me tell you I don't agree with closing sand bass. That's it. And get off. There's Bill's QR code. Get Bill's bundles so you don't ever suck at surf fishing again. I will see you all tomorrow. We're going to bring Justin back on here. If he's catching fish, I'll call him, find out what's going on. But we're going over to the commission meeting. See you guys. Have a great day. Turn off the news. They're all lying. This is the only place.